Okay, there's one. And we'll look on the other side. There's really no good or bad place to put this, I don't believe. That's not good. Okay, there we go. So we have 2 more holes. Guess I didn't need to have that in there. I drilled this. Didn't even need to hold that one. Notice that there is a little bit of metal hanging over on that, but that metal, if anything, will help your nut stay put when you tighten your screw. So I didn't file it down. It's perfectly okay to leave it there and crush it down with a nut. Do not cross thread these screws. And what I'm seeing here is it actually is pretty easy to cross thread them, so try not to do that. We're tightening out our lock washer, tighten down. This one is spinning a little bit, so I'm going to grab it with a pair of vice grips. Okay, there we go. Now notice we've got 4 screws in there, and that's going to hold that in there nice and tight. Now, those of you who really care, there's actually these big holes here, and it would probably be perfectly okay to drill those out and put a correct size screw through with the binding nut on the back. Now remember, this is 0 clearance because inside your cab it's going to be up against your door on these 4 holes, so whatever you put in there would have to be countersunk. But you could put one on each side, and you could actually put like a nut in there as a spacer to keep it apart, and then suck that down. And that will give you a little bit more mechanical advantage, but so far it looks like on my other one, I don't need it. It works quite well. And so now, let's figure out our orientation again. This is going to sit in our door like that, and this is going to hang down like that. That's a nice tight fit. The center shaft, which is good, and now we're ready to put the screws back in. Now remember, we want the round head of the screw coming up from the bottom, not the top. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We ran out of digital card filled up. Okay, so we left off, we were putting these last bolts on. Now 2 of these are going to be blind, oddly enough, sadly. I hate blind screws and blind nuts. And hopefully we didn't lose one of the screws because there seems to be one missing at the moment. 2. There's our last screw. Alright, now we're probably going to shut off so I can locate the screw. Okay, we're back. We had to change the film card. Sorry about that. So far we have 2 screws in place. I'll show you those. Now sadly the last 2 are blind nuts, so sooner or later you're going to encounter a blind nut on this project. Sorry, I hate blind nuts. And so got to get it up in there and hold it in place while we run the screw. I'll use my trusty needle nose vice grips for that. Boy, the magnetic. I've done something that caused everything to become magnetic over here. That's really weird. Probably had something to do with running the drill. Hate magnetic tools. It's one of my pet peeves of all time. When one of my tools becomes magnetic, I usually toss it in the trash and go buy a new one. Okay, so there's one. Now normally I would go and buy my own parts for this thing, but I wanted to show you that this could be done with the screws that they sent. So I'm going to hold that in place. Hopefully we have enough. Now we may have to loosen the front. We'll know in a moment here. No, went right on. Now, all things being equal, we probably should have put the two blind ones on first, because we do have to tweak this plate just a hair. Which I think that preload actually works out in our benefit in the long run. Okay, so it is in fact in there. Okay, so we've got this in here. Notice that the gears and the teeth mesh really nice. There is no play. That's solid as a rock. Okay, so now what we'll show you is we'll show you this motor. Now that it's assembled, we're going to go ahead and put the spring back in. I believe I'll figure out how the darn thing. Need to have to run back the video just to figure it out. I think the problem here right now is that the motor's not in its lowest position, so we'll take care of that in a moment here. And I got to think about this, so the motor will actually go down. So all the way down would be that way. So now you're going to get a chance to see this thing in action. Go ahead and hook up this wiring harness that we bought. And I'm going to go grab some strippers. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to just use a battery and some jumper cables, and we're going to power this thing up and see what it does. If I can get the insulation off this wire here, it seems to be fighting me, so there we go, nice and free. I believe it hooks up just like so. So there's our sacrificial car battery. Sorry about the noise there, our neighbor is blowing off his roof. So let's hook this up. Now let's get this out of the way, because this thing is going to do some serious traveling now, I believe. So we'll give it a clear path to operate. Everything moved out of the way. We may reuse this piece here. If you take a look, I think it's possible to use this part to do the other half of our project, which I'll start up in a few minutes. But here we go. Let's see what happens. You're going to get to see this before I do. There you go. And notice that it bottoms out, it stops. We don't want to keep running it because it'll burn up the motor. But that is a good indicator that we got nice and solid with no slack. So now I'm going to reverse the polarity. And sure enough, it goes the other direction. And stops, bottoms out. We don't want these cables to short, so I'm going to clip them back to themselves so that the insulator is clipped on. I do that a lot. Okay, so I'm going to put this thing back together. We've already done so. And now we're going to test it real quick. See what we think. There's it rolling down. It stops, bottoms out. There's it rolling back up. Oops, losing my connection a little bit here. There you go, rolling up. It stops when it hits both ends. Now we won't have to worry about that when the window's in, because the glass will actually bottom out or bottom up before it ever reaches the end of its travel. So that's it in its glory. And notice that it's in its track where it belongs. And the gears mesh up really nice. Nice and solid. Go ahead and install that and see how it works. But that is your video. There is your $50 power window conversion that you can do on each window. And just remember, you have to buy 2 motors, not just one, to make this thing work. And then if you want to buy this window regulator, that is completely optional. That's up to you and your personal preference. But in my case, I wanted to make it all new, so I was into it for about 99 bucks for the whole thing, including the motors and shipping and everything. So it would be $99 per side if you replace the window regulator. If you didn't, it would be $99 for both sides. So that's it. Thanks for watching.